What's next for Penn State with its legendary Hall of Fame coach Joe Paterno now gone and the continued outrage over the child abuse scandal? Can its storied brand continue raking in the big bucks, or will this scandal tarnish them for good? Time to let the Willis watchdogs out. Monique Hunneman is the founder and president of ISHR Group in Atlanta. Grant Cardone is the author of 10X in L.A. And Karen Nussel is a Republican strategist in D.C. Grant, let's start with you. Is there a recovery here?
It's going to be really tough for them, particularly if they allow these kids to continue to protest and continue to damage the brand of Penn State. They need to, hey, knock it off. The officials are doing the right thing by getting rid of the president and Paterno. If they knew anything about this and they didn't go there and pick that guy up and bring him to jail, then they haven't done enough. So they need to knock it off there at the student level and even say, hey, you're going to be, let go from the school if you continue this kind of, supportive behavior.
Apparently, the head of the university, Grant, just moments ago, told the governor, told students to knock it off. You think that'll work?
I think that's what needs to be said.
Yeah. Monique, to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, this idea of the protest anything. Look, you're talking about evil. When good people do nothing, evil can persist. And these kids don't need to participate in that. They need to understand, and they're not kids, they're adults now. They need to understand, look, this is a serious violation of the most precious commodity we have in the United States is our children, and they need to be protected.
Monique, what do you say?
I think you've got a legendary football program, a legendary football coach that have been tarnished by all this. One of the folks protesting and the riots last night said the board was an embarrassment to the university, to the school, and I think the way these students are acting furthers that embarrassment. You've got the letter of the law that wasn't followed. You've got the spirit of the law the letter that was followed, the spirit that wasn't, and now there's consequences.
Karen, this franchise made $73 million last year. I mean, you've got to think that a lot of what's going on is about protecting that revenue stream. As horrific as all of this is, there's a bit of self-interest going on. Do you agree?
Well, you got to. It's easy to draw that conclusion, absolutely, given the fact that there seems to have this sense of cover-up to it. But I think this is going to get worse before it gets better. And what concerns me is the continued mismanagement of this issue by the leadership of the university. I mean, the way this was handled last night. I can't imagine that they didn't have a conversation about when this news got out what the consequence was going to be among the student body. How could they have not been prepared? How could they have not had a more controlled announcement that helped people process this in a more constructive way? I mean, I have to tell you, my sister lives in this community, and there's a lot of passion around this football team and this coach. And I can't believe they didn't know that there was going to be some serious consequences to this just getting kind of leaked out. There was just no management of it.
Well, that's a really interesting point, and the whole story is really tragic. Another story kind of related to this, the student loan debt talked about in last night's debate. Ron Paul slammed the nation's student loan programs last night, calling for an end to them altogether. Take a listen to this.
The policy of student loans is a total failure. I mean, $1 trillion of debt. We should get rid of the loan programs. We should get rid of the Department of Education and give tax credits if you have to help people.
Karen, what do you say?
Well, I think he went a little too far with it, but I will tell you this. For over 30 years, we had a situation in this country where the government partnered with the private sector to try to give young people capital so that they could get an education. And what happened was that this administration and the Democrats in Congress took the private sector out of the equation. And it's not working. We are borrowing over $100 billion a year right now to support this program. It's not sustainable. It's not smart policy. And now we're in a situation where we're actually trying to grapple with our debt and deficit, and this has got to be dealt with in that process.
Well, Grant, to you, this is one of those situations where I think Ron Paul had some very smart things to say. He said, look, the educations are mediocre. The kids are overpaying.
That's right.
The costs go up every year. There need to be some limits put on these universities. Do you agree?
Every time the federal government gets involved in offering free or easy money to the public, you create a bubble, and that's what Ron Paul's saying. Newt Gingrich had it right as well. When you provide free money for housing, credit cards, wherever you provide free money, you raise prices. School prices have gone up 3 times more than inflation rates, so it creates a bubble, and the education that these guys are getting is no better. I mean, everybody would agree with that. It just doesn't work. The federal government needs to stay out of lending practices that make it easy for people to get money.
Monique, to you.
Absolutely. I don't think ending the school loans is the answer. I think that's a knee-jerk response. There's so many people in this country who couldn't go to college if it weren't for those loan programs. So I think we need to look at the other side of the equation. And is it lowering the cost of college, as we've been talking about here? Is it looking at increasing the work-study options that are available? Because right now, students are leaving school, and they're sitting behind such a mountain of debt before they even start working. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. What is it, $30,000 worth of debt, the average college student? Guys, great job. Fascinating conversation. Monique, Grant, and Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you.